What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be featuring Drytron, but before I begin, if you could happen to click on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons, it would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. Clicking on those notification bells would also mean a lot, as it notifies you when I upload on the channel. So, the way that I'll be structuring this video is that for the first several combos, I'll be doing 2-card combos, and especially with Alpha and Zeta, as they are the most streamlined ways to get your basic plays out that you normally would go for, and we're going to tribute off the Ben 10 for the Zeta, getting us 2 searches as we're going to trigger the Ben 10, and the first deviation here from the other combos that you might see is that we're going to grab ourselves the Choju, and then from here we're going to summon out the Mew. We're going to use the Mew's effect in order to send the Gamma, and then we'll be able to use the Meteona's Drytron, detaching one from Mew to bring out the Ben 10, and then from here, instead of tributing off the Ben 10, we're going to tribute off the Choju, and then we're going to use the Choju's effect in order to get our Magician of Black Chaos Max and the Meteona's Drytron. Keep in mind that this also could be the Odd-Eyed Gravity Dragon, or whatever it's called, the ritual that bounces back spells and traps that your opponent can't respond to if you're playing against Labyrinth or something. But from here we're going to then go into a rank 6, as we're going to summon out our Beatrice, use the Beatrice effect, which will get us a Zeta in the graveyard, or a Delta rather, and then we're going to use the effect of the Gamma in the graveyard, pitching Magician, as we're going to bring back the Zeta off of the Gamma, and then from here we'll be able to get the Meteona's Drytron back, giving us 2 ritual spells in hand. As from here we can use the Delta's effect, which will tribute off the Gamma, reveal a ritual spell or monster in hand as we're going to draw one. Keep in mind I'll continue to draw Alpha every time that I use the Delta's effect in this video because the deck isn't shuffled, but we're going to summon out another copy of Mew, and we're doing this in order to get more quote-unquote free ritual summons, as we're going to bring back the Magician of Black Chaos Max to showcase the first form of disruption that we have, which is through Dynamondo. And this is a card that, if this card is special summoned, you can target 1 card on the field and 1 ritual monster in your graveyard, shuffle both into the deck, and then during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can tribute this card, then target 1 ritual monster in your graveyard, and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So since we properly summoned out the Magician of Black Chaos Max, on our opponent's turn, we will be able to bring that out during their turn, and then we can lock our opponent out of using monster effects for the remainder of their turn. You'll notice how this is sort of a recurring theme with Drytron in regards to all the different ways that they can lock you out of playing. With the first combo out of the way, I'll take you on to the second one. So for the second combo, we'll be taking a similar approach with the Alpha and the Zeta. We'll tribute off the Zeta in order to get the Ben 10 off the Alpha. We'll use the Zeta's effect in order to get ourselves the search for the Meteona's Drytron along with the body on board. We'll then use the Ben 10's effect in order to get ourselves the Choju. And then from here we're going to go into our Mew, use the Mew's effect in order to send the Gamma. This is another thing that you should probably get used to, the Mew sending the Gamma in most of your plays, as I'll also show replays of when you have other pieces in hand that kind of change the combo lines a little, but we're going to use the Meteona's Drytron to get back the Ben 10, and then we're going to use the Meteona's Drytron, get it back to our hand, as we're then going to tribute off the Ben 10 this time for the Choju, get the Ben 10's effect, and we're going to do a Chainlink 1, Ben 10, Chainlink 2 Choju, and this just plays around Imperm Ash, as from here we'll then be able to get ourselves a total of 3 searches through the 2 from Choju and another from Ben 10 that you'll see we get the Lancia. You can also get Ben 10 or something like Herald of the Orange Light, but we're going to use the Meteona's Drytron, summon out the Edatin. This will also let us loop our field spell, and this combo in specific isn't one that I would probably go for now, but I do think that this combo is worth showing, because the amount of level 6 stuff that we can do, it gives us options, and especially when there's new cards that come out that can improve the card pool for the level 6s and rank 6s. I just think that I should put this out there, but we're going to bring back the Delta by tributing the Alpha, and then from here we'll get the draw, as we'll then go into our Mew, use the Meteona's Drytron in order to get ourselves the summon back of the Edatin, use the Edatin, this will be able to get us back a Meteona's Drytron, use the Meteona's Drytron, we'll bring back the Ben 10, and then from here we're going to go into the Dragulus. And this is why I say that this probably isn't the best of plays right now, because it lacks the oppressive capabilities that other Drytron plays have. But for now, this gets you a Book of Moon on a special summon monster from the extra deck, along with a Lance or Herald of the Orange Light, along with the Beatrice send on the next turn, which can send Natasha. I want to keep in mind that if you don't want the Mew Beta there for reasons to take damage or whatever, you can use the effect of Dragulus and flip the Mew to face down defense position so that you can activate the Meteonis Drytron, summon out the Edatin, and then get back the Meteonis Drytron off of the Edatin. So that is something that you can kind of do. But again, consider this combo more for the future than for now. Now, for this third combo, and this will show the first big difference in the type of plays that you can do, as we're going to use our Alpha and Zeta as we have in basically every other combo, as we will for the next couple as well. As we're going to get the effect of the Ben 10, get ourselves the Diviner of the Herald, we'll go into our Mew, use the Mew's effect, and this will be able to send the Gamma. We'll then normal summon the Diviner, use the Diviner in order to send the Herald. The Herald can get us a search for the Dark Magician, and then we're going to use the Meteonis Drytron, bring back the Ben 10, as we'll be able to use the Gamma, tribute off the Ben 10, use the Gamma in order to bring back the Zeta, as we'll get the Ben 10's effect in order to get another Ben 10, and then from here we're going to use the Meteonis Drytron, targeting the Gamma, which will get the Meteonis Drytron back in hand, use the effect of Meteonis Drytron in order to summon out our Magician of Black Chaos Max, and then from here we're going to link away into our Herald of the Mirage Lights, which is a spell and trap negate if you have a fairy in hand, and then we'll be able to go into the Dynamondo for the Magician of Black Chaos play on our opponent's turn. And keep in mind, this can be the Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon as well, while this can be something like IP Masquerena. Now, for the fourth combo, and again, we'll be starting with Alpha and Zeta, and we'll tribute off the Zeta in order to get the search for the Ben 10 off the Alpha. We'll use the effect of the Zeta, pitching the Ben 10, use the effect of the Ben 10 after adding the Meteonis Drytron, as we'll be able to get a search for the Diviner, and then from here we'll go into our Mew, as we're going to use the Mew's effect, sending the Gamma, and then we'll normal summon the Diviner, as we'll send the Herald from our extra deck to the graveyard, get the search for the Amorphage, and this is basically in order to skip our opponent's main phase, along with negating a lot of monsters from the extra deck while on the field, like Fusion, Synchros, and Exceed monsters. But from here we're going to use the Meteonis Drytron, targeting the Mew, getting that back to the hand, as we're then going to use the Gamma in order to bring itself back by pitching the Ben 10 or tributing the Ben 10, and then we're going to get ourselves the Lancia, as we're then going to be able to use the Meteonis Drytron, as we're going to bring out the Amorphage, as we're then going to link away into the Herald. Now from here, the only down thing is that you do keep the Diviner of the Herald when you do this, with only these two cards, but you're still able to play around evenly while having a main phase 1 turn skip. Now, this is the final Alpha-Zeta combo, I believe, and this one will show the third route that you have, as we're going to use the effect of the Alpha, pitching the Zeta, getting ourselves the Ben 10. From here, we'll use the Zeta, pitching the Ben 10, getting itself out along with the Meteonis Drytron. The Ben 10 will be able to net us a search, as we're going to get the Vanities Ruler this time around, and then from here, we're going to go into our Mew, send the Gamma again, as we're going to then use the Meteonis Drytron in order to get back our Ben 10. And then from here, we'll tribute them off for the Vanities Ruler, as the Ben 10 will get us a search. And from here, we'll be able to get another copy of Ben 10 so that we can tribute it off for the Gamma and get ourselves two special summons along with a search, as we're going to trigger off the Ben 10 here, getting us the Lancia. And then from here, we can use the Meteonis Drytron, get itself back, as we're going to link away into the Herald of Mirage Light, giving us a spell and trap negate, a potential block from your opponent, banishing cards. You kind of have to pick and choose which one you're going to use, but more importantly, you do get to lock your opponent out of special summoning via the Vanities Ruler. Now, I'm going to be doing some hands if you happen to open Gamma, and keep in mind, for these hands, you could have something like Drytron Nova, the Drytron Fafnir, the Cyber Emergency. The entire deck that isn't the ritual part of it is basically focused on getting your names out. So if you're not seeing going second cards or ritual cards, you're seeing your names, and that's kind of why I'm doing this video the way I am with all these 2-card combos. So from here we're going to start by using the Alpha, attributing off the Gamma. From here we'll then be able to get the Ben 10, use the effect of the Gamma, which will tribute off the Alpha, and this is in order to get our 2 bodies on board, as we're going to go into the Mu, use the effect of the Mu in order to send off the Zeta. We'll then use the Zeta in order to pitch the Ben 10. This will get us a pair of searches as we get the Meteonis Drytron along with the trigger of the Ben 10, getting us the Vanity's Ruler. We'll then be able to use the effect of the Meteonis Drytron, bring back the Ben 10, as we'll then be able to use the Meteonis Drytron, bring it back to our hand by lowering the attack of the Mu Beta, and then we'll summon out the Vanity's Ruler, getting a search off the Ben 10 as well for the Lancia, and then from here we'll use the effect of the Meteonis Drytron, bring back the Ben 10, as we can then go into our Masquerena, rounding out our end board. So obviously this one is a little bit better if you happen to have the extra body for the Masquerena, as you don't really want to link away your Vanity's Ruler, but there are matchups where it does come up, specifically versus back row decks, so that's why I chose to end this board the way I did. Now we're going to do another one with Gamma and Alpha, as we're going to start here by using the Alpha in order to tribute off the Gamma. We'll get ourselves the Ben 10, as we can then use the Gamma, attributing off the Alpha. We'll then have access to our 2 bodies as we can go into our Mu. With Mu, we can then send the Zeta, and you're basically just recycling names or cycling them. And then we're going to get our Meteonis Drytron, get the effect off the Ben 10 for the Herald, as we're then going to normal summon the Herald, get ourselves the send of the Diviner, as we'll be able to get ourselves a search for the Edatin. We'll use the Meteonis Drytron to bring out the Edatin, and this will be able to loop the field spell or the ritual spell back without having to use its effects. So that is kind of nice, as we're going to go into the Beatrice, send the Delta, as we're then going to use the effect of Delta, attributing off the Zeta, reveal the ritual spell in our hand for the draw, and then from here we'll bring back the Edatin off the Meteonis Drytron, as we're going to loop the ritual spell again, as we're then going to link away into our IP Masquerena, use the effect of Meteonis Drytron yet again in order to bring back a Ben 10, and this part I do because you can go for another rank 6 here, and again, if we get a better option than number 24 that we can go for, that happens to be a floodgate-like effect, and I really do think that this will come up more often. But otherwise, you would probably want to keep the Meteonis Drytron along with the Alpha in hand. This is just another combo that you have access to via Gamma and Alpha. Now, for the final 2-card combo, and we'll have Gamma and Zeta, we're going to start this one by using the Zeta, attribute the Gamma. We'll then be able to bring out the Zeta and get ourselves the Meteonis Drytron, use the Gamma, which will tribute off the Zeta, bring back the Zeta with the Gamma, as we're then going to go into our Mu. The Mu will be able to send the Draconids. We're then going to use the Meteonis Drytron in order to bring back the Draconids, giving our opponent an annoying boss monster to deal with that can't be targeted by monster effects and can banish monsters from our graveyard. Whose combined attack equals exactly 2,000 or 4,000, then we can target a face-up card our opponent controls for every 2,000 attack of the total, and send those cards to the graveyard. Now, for this hand, I want to do a kind of awkward hand, and I want to do this because all the 2-card combos that we did were basically Alpha-Zeta, Alpha-Gamma, Gamma-Zeta. Those are the things that you're using for your combos. You don't happen to see something like Ben 10 to tribute off your names. We're going to start this one by using the effect of the Fafnir, and this will get us a search for the Nova. From here we'll be able to use the Nova, which will bring out a name, as we're going to go for the Zeta, and then we're going to use the Gamma, tribute off the Zeta. We'll be able to get the 2 bodies on board for the Mu, as we'll use the Mu's effect, which will send the Alpha to our graveyard. We'll use the Alpha's effect, pitching the Delta, and this will get us a search for the Ben 10, as we're then going to use the effect of the Delta in our graveyard, bring it back by tributing off the Ben 10. Ben 10 will get us a search for the Diviner. From here we can normal summon the Diviner, use its effect, sending the Herald. We'll then be able to get us a search for the Meteonis Drytron. We'll then be able to use the Meteonis Drytron, bring back our Ben 10, as we're going to use the Meteonis Drytron, get itself back to our hand, as we're then going to use the effect of the Zeta in our graveyard in order to pitch the Ben 10, and then we can get a second copy of the Ritual spell, as we're going to trigger off the Ben 10, getting ourselves the Lancia, And then from here, we can go into the Herald of Mirage Lights, as we're going to use the effect of the Meteonis Drytron to bring back a Ben 10, go into a Beatrice, as the Beatrice can now send a name to the graveyard, as we're going to send the Natasha here. You can send another Drytron name for follow-up. But we're then going to link away into the IP Masquerena and end on the IP, the Beatrice, along with the Herald negations, and you also have the Lancia along with the orange light that we happen to hard draw with the thrust if you happen to run into any monster hand traps. Now this is what a good hand basically looks like when you just have all gas, and we're going to start with the Cyber Emergency, get ourselves the Zeta, so we already have the Alpha-Zeta here, as you're probably tired of seeing. And we're going to get ourselves the Magician of Black Chaos Max, or you could get the Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon or the Amorphage. But we're going to use the effect of the Zeta pitching the Ben 10, as we're going to use the Ben 10's effect in order to get ourselves the Vanities Ruler. From here we'll then be able to go into our Mew, use the Mew's effect, which will send the Gamma to our graveyard, use the effect of the Draconids, as we'll get back the Ben 10 off the Meteonis, as we'll then be able to use the Meteonis, get itself back to our hand by lowering the attack of the Mew, and then from here we'll normal summon the Vanities Ruler, tribute off the Ben 10 for it, triggering its effect, and then we'll be able to use the Gamma pitching the Search Ben 10 in order to get back 2 bodies along with a Search off the Ben 10. We'll get ourselves another copy of Ben 10, as we're going to activate the Fafnir now, put out our Nova, as we can then activate the Nova. We'll then be able to bring out the Delta, as we're now going to have access into another Mew. We'll activate the Meteonis, as we're going to bring out our Magician of Black Chaos Max, or the Odd Eyes Gravity, whatever you want. We're going to tribute off the Ben 10 for the Delta, and then we're going to get ourselves a draw along with the Search, as we get Lancia, and then from here we can link away into the Mirage Light, link away into our Dino, and now we have the ability to have a Spell and Trap negate, the Lancia to play around evenly, and then we also have the Dyna, which will bring back the Magician of Black Chaos Max, locking our opponent out of special summoning from the Vanities Ruler and monster effects with the Magician of Black Chaos Max on our opponents. So with all of that out of the way, I'll finally get onto the deck profile. And you can probably see why I structured the video the way I did. When you have 10 names here, you also have technically 4 more names here with the 2 Fafnir and the 2 Nova. The 3 Emergency is basically 3 more names, giving you a grand total of 17 names, with the Thrust also being able to search out the Cyber Emergency or the Nova. Our 2 normal summons are going to be Diviner and either Vanities Ruler or the Choju. It kind of depends on the format. If Nib isn't as rampant, you can play Choju, which is the more explosive one. And if you do play Choju, you'll see I have access code here next to it with the Boral Sword in the extra deck. And when you play Vanities Ruler, you are tributing 1 more monster, so having the Boral Sword to go for game is a little bit easier. While with Choju, you can pull off those more explosive plays, go into access, using the Unicorn and stuff, and get you those pops, while not over-investing into the play. As for the going second cards, you'll see that we have the 3 Book of Eclipse, the Thrust, the Talents, and the Evenly. I think for the format, you kind of do have to play the Book of Eclipse, especially with Dragoon and the Kashtira locks. Lady also stops from targeting if Labyrinth has back row sets, so there's just a lot of ways that this can come up, this particular format. It also helps going first, especially when you end your board with just Herald of Mirage Light plus like Dynamondo, where you can tribute off the Magician of Black Chaos and prevent yourself from really being hurt by the Book of Eclipse flipping your own stuff face down, though it can collude with the Vanities Ruler. Then we also have the Lancia and the Herald. These are both searchable, and they're also going second card. I should add that in, but because they're searchable makes them more valuable. Then we have the one called by for stuff like Ash and potentially Bell or even Crow. Again, it depends on the format. Crow isn't as popular right now, but Droll does see some level of play because of decks that can do degenerate stuff like Drytron and Dark World, so that is important to note. I would also like to note that this deck does struggle when Bystials come back into the format, which can kind of hurt the competitiveness of the deck, because you're kind of banking on the top decks not being too hurt by Bystials, and the same can be said for other decks like Heroes and other light and dark decks that need their graveyard. You'll see that we also have the Link Karibo down here, which can be replaced for the Anima. The Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon, as mentioned before, can be sided or something if you want to play around with the Magician of Black Chaos Max spot. Then the Amorphage Turn Skip along with the Magic Key and the Counter Trap are just other avenues that you can take the deck that give the deck a little bit more flexibility, though you are adding in the Counter Trap brick if you do play the Magic Key, which you already play a high ritual count, and that is something else that I guess I can kind of note. While overall the deck is consistent in getting its names out, you see that there's practically 20 ways to get into your names, but between your going second cards and the rituals, with your tribute summons and opening a Delta alone or a Gamma, which just isn't too great, can definitely hurt the consistency of the deck. But with all of that out of the way, I don't want to get too repetitive, so I'll get onto the card by card. So we have the 3 Alpha, the 3 Zeta, the 2 Gamma, the 2 Delta, the 1 Vanity's Ruler, the 1 Herald of Diviner, the 1 Draconid, the 1 Magician of Black Chaos Max, the 1 Natasha, the 1 Edatin, the 2 Preps, the 3 Ben 10, the 3 Cyber Emergency, the 3 Book of Eclipse, the 2 Thrust, the 1 Talent, the 2 Nova, the 1 Lancia, the 1 Herald of Orange Light, the Evenly, and the Called by the Grave, the 2 Draco Meteonis, and the 2 Fafnirs to round out the main deck. Then we have the 1 Boral Sword, the 1 Appaloosa, the Unicorn, the Mask, the Dynamondo, the Herald of Mirage Lights, the Anima, the Herald of Arclight, the 2 Zeus, the Beatrice, the Downer, the Fucho, which is actually good for when you kind of either break or are in a grind game, just being able to be unaffected by other card effects, and then detach 2 to make it unable to destroy it by battle or even take damage can be helpful in regards to surviving, so that maybe you can draw into that extra name or Ben 10 or whatever you need to get into. And then finally we have the 2 Fafnir to round out the deck profile. But anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.